Thank you. Good morning, Laura.
Is anyone there?
Hello. Hello, hello.
Hello, is this Unity?
It is Living Water Spiritual
Good.
Community.
Good, that's what I'm looking for.
All right.
I found it.
I have your phone number, but tell me your name and we'll just.
This is Diane Dodson.
Oh,
and
hi.
If you'll tell me something about a meeting when I tried to call into Zoom with video and audio, am I interrupting? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
It asked not only for this ID that I had, but it asked for a password,
And
which I don't have.
the password, Zoom implemented, because of the Zoom bombing, they implemented passwords for meetings. And the password is now and always will be, I am that I am, all uppercase, no space.
Okay, well, I'll come back that way.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cool.
Bye.
Morning, Mark. Changing. Defenses. Borders. Not respected. That should tell us something. There you are. Good morning again.
Nope. Now here we go. I had to unmute the audio. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, all. Get your mute on.
Good morning, Dick. Good morning, Cindy. Hello, Kay.
Okay.
Hi.
Good morning.
Hi, Laura. Hi, Kay.
Hello.
Who else is up there? Hi, Diane.
Hello, how are you?
Okay, we're hanging in there. Hi, Mark, or there's Sharon. Okay.
I'm going to throw up an announcement screen.
Okay.
Kay, your mic is off.
I just turned it on. Floyd's calling
Okay.
me. I'll have to tell him I'll call back.
Shit.
Are we on mic or mute? You gotta whisper in front of your Zoom.
What's that?
You gotta whisper in front of your Zoom.
We can hear you.
I know, that's what I mean.
There is no such thing as privacy anymore.
Have you got it on now? Is mute on? Hold on. Mute is on. Okay. I mean, it's not. That's fine. Leave it till we actually get started. How are your fellow band members? Clarence, to blank on your name just now.
That's all right. Happens all the time. Not too bad. Not too bad. I talked and texted with Trinity a little bit. She's hanging in there. I mean, nothing real special, except she's trying to buy her condo.
Well,
And with her, the current economic situation and her job, she's still working. She's working from home mostly, but that's kind of on hold. I had a long phone call with Doug the other day, and he seems kind of down in the dumps just in terms of, he's staying at home all the time, rarely sees anybody over there.
yeah.
All his gigs have been canceled, including church and so forth and so on. So we talked for about an hour, so I guess he's hanging in there okay.
Well, he moved into a senior community, right?
Well, yeah, he's in Windsor Gardens.
Yeah.
They had one nest so far there.
Hang on a sec.
Yeah, he's in Windsor Gardens. Yeah, then that was he had been in his other home, which was a
Okay.
beautiful place.
Yes.
Very
I had
small.
to mute
but
my
they-
mic.
That was backed up to a lake. He'd been in that place for 30 years.
Yeah.
All
That's hard.
uppercase.
And it's
I
hard
am
to
that I
come into
am.
this.
No spaces.
I know the senior living places have really been cutting down on communication.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
I am that I
Oh, yeah.
am.
We have Nancy and John Turek over in their place, and they're not allowed to have visitors even
No spaces.
outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All uppercase.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Okay.
They're like prisoners over there.
Bye.
Well, and I would imagine, and I don't know for sure, but I would imagine, excuse me, I would imagine Windsor Gardens has got, exercise rooms and wood shop and
They do.
gym and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure those are all closed down right now.
And that's not into that anyway. Yeah, that's not.
Right. Well, I don't know. I guess it makes us stronger, right? I wasn't so sure of that 2 days ago.
Yeah, I hope so.
He has his piano and he likes to cook, so he can do those things.
Laura, what's new with you? I'm seeing your picture on there, so that's why I'm talking to you. Laura, you must have you're muted right now.
Sorry, I'm trying to get Pam. Excuse me, I'm trying to get Pam the information to get on here.
Okay, I think she probably knows that, but maybe not.
No, she texted me. She couldn't get on, so.
It's the I am that I am, huh?
It was off.
So how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. My husband's kind of in the fearful state, but I'm doing fine.
Good. It helps to have one of us that way.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, one of us balance the other out.
Right.
Well, while we're waiting, go ahead.
Just a quick question for everybody. The I am that I am, is that case sensitive?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
It needs to be
Good
capped.
morning, all uppercase.
Okay, thank you. That must be Patrick.
Yeah.
That's
I
me.
got it.
Good morning.
Yeah. Well, while we're waiting.
Twice, because I have had it on the big screen so I can see everybody, then the phone actually has a camera, so this is the first time I've had a camera.
Yeah, I see that. Okay.
Yeah.
Is our video off? We're at cigarettes off.
I have on, but no shower.
Well, you're on. I see you.
Yeah.
At least on the phone, at the bottom left of your picture, there's a little red microphone that's crossed through if you're muted.
No, well, I understand and it looks to me like our video is on based on the symbols, but Clarence was saying, we're just not seeing ourselves.
No.
I know David's taken the screen with an announcement slide, so maybe that's...
You're still over there. Yeah.
Yeah, so go over to the other screen. You're there.
Okay.
Is that announcement available somewhere long term for the schedule stuff? Is it like posted online or anything?
I don't know. I would imagine it might be on the website, but I don't know.
Because that would be helpful. I mean, I wasn't able to copy it all in that, or any of it in this little slip of time.
No.
Usually anything that's scheduled is on the calendar on the website.
And that's still
Only a few of us on here, so I sure hope we get more than that. How many? 19? Oh, okay.
I think people may be flummoxed by the password thing.
Yeah, but that's important today. There we go. Now we see everybody. Or we hear, see the names.
Hey, hello, Doug. We see you're here. But you're muted.
Where's Doug?
Hey, Pam.
You can say
I
muted.
see Leslie coming on. Good morning, Leslie. Carol.
I might not have been the morning, everybody.
Great picture, Pam.
Just move your gallery view from left to right. Up at the very top, there's an arrow. You can move your gallery from left to right, and you can see everybody.
I do. I see everybody's history.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Andy.
Makes it funny now.
And then up at the top, you can change from gallery to just speaker. So keep that in mind if you don't already know that.
If you're on the phone, you could just swipe too, because I'm not seeing any arrow on the phone.
Yeah. I'm on a Chromebook, so that's what I'm using, Chrome.
There's Rose. Good morning, Rose. Jim. Good morning.
Rose, you're muted.
Look Lorraine over there in her comfy chair.
Looks like Doug's there. Doug's there somewhere. Doug.
Barbara's here, but she's muted too.
You need
Probably on the ginormous tablet.
Jim, you're muted. Good morning. Jim, hi.
Dick and Sandy, good morning.
Good morning. Rose,
Oh, look at that. We can see Patrick. Woohoo.
Rose, how are you?
I've got my phone going for camera. There's David.
And Lee's trying to get in. I gave Lee the password, so hopefully she'll get in if he's not here already.
David, I have to ask you, do you have pajama bottoms on still? Oh, he's got the suit.
Lee yet?
Aw.
Oh, Lee, are you out there? No. No.
Hello, everybody.
Good morning, everybody.
I'm here, but I'm making breakfast, so I'm going to go mute and on video. So bye.
All right,
Feels like
you
we're
get,
on Hollywood Squares.
all right.
No.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning, David.
You got your-
Morning.
You got your drink nearby?
Yeah.
Your crumpets? Your
Cheers.
muffins?
Everybody's got their coffee.
Alright.
I just checked the calendar of Unity on the website, and it is not up to date. So we will make sure those announcements that were posted at the beginning get onto the calendar, and you can check the calendar for all of the online stuff. But I just checked it, and it still includes bingo and some of the things. So we do need to make some corrections to the calendar on the website.
So, because I proved my bottoms are present, I'd like everybody to stand up and prove your bottoms are present.
Yeah, right. It's an only broadcast, right?
So, what do you think? Should we get started, or are we going to just continue this gathering?
I think we need to get started.
We should get started.
All right.
May I suggest that Leslie adjust her camera unless we want to see her belly laughs for the whole of the...
Well, I can't see myself.
There
Let's see.
you go.
There you go. That's better.
Let's do. Hey, Rachel.
It's a good design to have your eyes sitting 1/3 of the way below the top of the screen. So
Okay, Leslie's got pants on.
so you don't look like you're peering up over a wall. All right. So why don't we begin with someone sharing the daily word with us? Who'd like to offer that?
I guess I can go ahead and read it.
Okay.
There. Today is Sunday, April 5th, and today's word is Hosanna. Our affirmation is with joy, love, and faith, I celebrate my growing Christ awareness. Shouts of Hosanna arise as the people cover the dusty road with palm branches, greeting Jesus with great enthusiasm as he rides his donkey into Jerusalem, according to the gospel stories. Spiritually understood, the entry of Jesus into Jerusalem symbolizes the dawning of Christ awareness in the heart of humankind. The crowd's shouts of Hosanna represent prayers that this dawning Christ awareness be protected and nurtured. I reflect on this powerful story, seeing in myself both the dawning Christ awareness and the shouting crowd of thoughts responding to the Christ light. On this Palm Sunday, my heart sings Hosanna. I celebrate the growing Christ awareness in the Jerusalem of my soul. Our scripture is, "Blessed is the coming kingdom of our ancestor David." I'm closing. I saw David. Hosanna in the highest. David was blocking that. If you can see the scripture, there it is. And so it is.
And so it is.
And so it is.
It is.
Oh,
So it is.
boy. All right, share. Let's share this opening prayer, if you would, please. We know that God is a love that has no end and a power that knows no bounds. God's healing power of divine life is restoring, healing, and revitalizing our world in this very moment. We let go of any fears or anxieties, and we affirm that all are safe, healthy, and protected. We bless all those who support us in maintaining vibrant, radiant health. We express divine life in all we think, say, and do. We bless our global family with radiant health, peace of mind, and abundant love. And in this prayer space, I invite you to offer your prayers with the name and the condition for which you would like prayers for that person.
I offer a prayer for my throat that is sore, that it may heal quickly.
And so it is.
For my husband, Ernie, who he's very fearful. He needs more faith.
And so it is.
For my daughter Alex, as she's pregnant in Hawaii and will be coming back to the Bay Area in a few weeks. And hopefully a healthy baby.
And so it is.
And so it is.
For my son John and granddaughter Jolene for success in the homeschooling they're struggling with.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is.
And so it is.
Am I on?
Yes, you are.
For Janine, who is at the front lines of that grocery store in Walmart, and who is they're down guarding one entrance now. And it's been very, very hard for her.
And so it is.
And so it is.
For my friend Melanie, who is having difficulties yesterday, who is very giving, and I want prayers and gifts her way now so that she can get stronger and get over how she feels right now.
And so it is.
And so it is.
And for the healthcare workers, the healthcare maintenance people, the receptionists, all of those people on the front line in the medical community. For the workers and the toilers that are on the front lines in our grocery stores maintaining our food supply. For all of those in the upline distribution channels that are working so hard to keep our stores' shelves stocked. And for all of those who are struggling with their isolation in this shelter-in-place condition. And so it is.
G7, thank you.
I didn't hear that. What was just said? And so in this time of community prayer, we hold all of those who are not mentioned, but all of those who are in our hearts for their recovery, for their healing, for their accommodation of the struggles that they are dealing with. We see this entire planet in various states of struggle. And so we extend our loving embrace of this entire planet, of the people that are here, there, everywhere, holding them in God's loving light. We see them lifted, healed, transformed. And so it is that together we say, Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Well, I'm still struggling with the technology of music. As you know, I very much like to have our community singing. Today we are going to not engage that. Although that the engagement last last week was fun. At least next week we will have Christ the Lord is risen today. So you can count on that, but I'm going to have to figure out how that is done. Okay. So, are you ready?
Yes.
Yes.
We're ready.
Okay. No, I mean that in the context of the greater. Are you ready? You know, COVID-19, of course, that's on my mind, and I'm guessing it's on many of our minds. I had discussions with my fellow ministers, some of which are saying, you know, I really want to get back to normal. I want to the message that I'm going to deliver on Palm Sunday, it's going to be a message that I'm going to deliver in normal times. And I say, more power to you. This is not normal times. And I don't think we will ever return to what we thought 4 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, 3 months ago was normal. And it's not that I'm being negative about it. One could certainly interpret my comments as negative. And being a unity minister, God knows I don't want to convey negativity. However, I am not one that gets embraced by what I call unity cantations. I want to look at our condition that we are sharing and address it, because I know that each of you are dealing with that concern of, oh my God, what now? And it could be said that we are in a place of great power. I've talked about the power of the condition of chaos. I've talked about how it is important for us to recognize that while things may seem like they're going to hell in a handbasket, we need to recognize that, well, maybe not. Maybe the handbasket is just being rearranged. Maybe the handbasket is being restructured to hold more. Maybe the handbasket is undergoing a transformation that is going to carry us into a greater realization of who we really are. I think it can be fairly said that this pandemic is no respecter of boundaries. It is no respecter of ethnicity. It is no respecter of race. It is a demonstration that we are all connected, and that connection is something that gets lost in our normal day-to-day, in our normal competitive mode, and that destruction of that perspective, I think, is a very good thing. So if nothing else that comes out of this pandemic but a realization that, you know, what happens in China, what happens in Thailand, what happens in Burma, what happens in Nigeria, what happens in France, what happens in South America, and what happens in the islands far-flung in the Pacific, and what happens everywhere on the planet affects me, and I affect everything on the planet. If we could understand that, if we could learn that lesson from this pandemic, I think that could be the basis of a transformation of our entire society, that we can re-engage the values that we have had in the past of respecting our neighbor, of helping our neighbor, of reaching out to those who are in need and helping them lift up, helping them be more resourceful, helping them be more abundant. So that lesson that COVID is offering us, I think, needs to be attended to. You know, as we look at the Easter story, and we see and we see ourselves from as the Daily Word referred to it, from a spiritual perspective. In unity, that's often referred to as a metaphysical perspective. As we look at this Easter story, I'd like to just begin with this condition that Jesus found himself in. Are you able to see my cursor here? I'm
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
I'm circling the yellow arrow. The yellow arrow is, as the story goes, the entrance path of Jesus and his disciples on that, what we call Palm Sunday. But also there was another procession that was coming into town, and that procession was the Roman garrison that was coming into town for what was to be the Passover week. And the Passover week was marked by the arrival of hundreds of thousands of Jewish immigrants, of people that were coming to the holy city, to the celebration of Passover, to the offering of tribute to the temple. And so the Romans were reinforcing their soldiers in place in Jerusalem to handle these crowds. It is estimated that there were some 5,000 Roman soldiers that were coming in to manage these thousands and thousands of Jewish people that were coming in on their holy celebration, for their holy celebration. So that's the condition that we see in Jerusalem some 2,000 years ago. The interesting thing is that if we can look at this from a spiritual perspective, we can see that this Holy Week is represented in the pandemic that we are experiencing. And you may say, "Oh, I mean that's a weird way to look at it," and perhaps it is so. But if we look at the pandemic from a spiritual perspective, we can see that, like Jesus coming into Jerusalem, this is the development of a transformation in society. Jesus coming into the holy city was he was warned against that by his disciples. His disciples said, "Don't go there because they're going to kill you." And Jesus, according to the story, nonetheless went into Jerusalem to face that outcome. So the Easter story begins, if you will, with this coming into Jerusalem. And this is, if you will, a preparation for the unfolding of the Easter story. The pandemic can be the preparation for the unfolding of our evolution. And if we look at it that way, it might provide us with some insight as to how we move forward. I mentioned earlier that we could hope for a return to the old normal, but we are not likely to see that achieved. If we look at how our economy is just hanging on by a thread now with, what was it, something like 8 million over the course of the last 2 weeks, some 8 million unemployment applications. We have seen something like 75% of our population right now is in a shelter-in-place directive, whether it's an order or it's a suggestion. And so we are in a situation right now which some people are saying that it will be over in 2 weeks, that the peak will arrive in New York in the next week or two. But I'd like to remind everyone that these peaks that they're speaking of are peaks. There's contagion on the other side of those peaks. There is going to be a necessity for shelter in place on the other side of those peaks. We are in the upswing now, and we will be in the downswing, hopefully in the not too distant future. But there will be changes. One of the aspects of the Easter story that I like to point out, just because I want to emphasize that it is an Easter story, is this passage from Mark. On the following day, when Jesus and the disciples, came from Bethany, Jesus was hungry. Seeing in the distance a fig tree and leaf, he went to see whether perhaps he would find anything on it. When he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for it was not the season for figs. He said to it, "May no one ever eat fruit from you again." And his disciples heard it. This particular passage is one that tells me that the writer was intent upon showing us that this is a symbolic story. That is to say, Jesus knew that the fig tree wasn't in season. Why did Jesus go over to see if anything was there? Was he looking for rotten figs from the prior season? And if it did not have fruit and it was not to be in season, why would he curse it? And so this cursing of the fig tree is a flag, in my mind, it is a flag saying, hey, read this story, but realize that it's not, in fact, true. That there is truth in the story, but the facts of the story are not to be relied upon. There's a PBS video that last year I shared in the sanctuary. It's called The Last Days of Jesus. It's available on pbs.org if you are a supporting member of pbs.org. I'm looking at the question of whether or not we video or we share that video here via Zoom. I'm not sure that we are going to be able to do that, but I want to make sure that if we do it, we will be legal, if you will. But if you're looking for a reasonable recounting of the Easter story, check it out. The Last Days of Jesus on pbs.org. But in that, it talks about a period where Jesus came into Jerusalem not in the springtime, just before Passover, but rather in the fall. And there was a period of some 6 months of his activity in Jerusalem that caused his eventual crucifixion. But there's some underlying history that is brought into that story that is quite illuminating, and it talks about how the elements of the Easter story that we're familiar with become more understandable, more reasonable, if you will, in the context of what was happening in Jerusalem at that time. I won't go any further into that. Check it out if you are so inclined. But as we look at the Easter story, I'm going to pull up a list of the events of Holy Week, and I'll share that with you here. So there was the cursing of the fig tree on his way into Jerusalem. There was the cleansing of the temple, the challenge of Jesus' authority by the Pharisees, the debate with the Jewish leaders, the denunciation of the scribes and the Pharisees and the temple priests, the discourse on the last things. There will be coming of famine, there will be coming of pestilence, and we certainly are seeing pestilence now, but there will be coming of nation against nation, tribe against tribe. Then there's the conspiracy of the chief priests midweek in the week. There's on Maundy, Thursday, there's the Last Supper. There's the prayer of Gethsemane. And there's the betrayal and arrest of Jesus. And there's the trial before the Jewish authorities, the trial before Pilate, the crucifixion and the burial. So all of these events leading up to Easter are recounted in our Scripture. And again, the last days of Jesus takes these events and puts them in the context of the history of Jerusalem at that period, in that period of time. So it's important that we have an appreciation that while the Easter story may not be factually true, there is great truth that is contained within that Easter story. And as we look at that story from a spiritual perspective, we can see that truth. And one of the truths that is important for us to understand is that it was the crucifixion out of which a new worldview arose. A worldview where God was not some distant, vengeful entity that was there to smite you, which was the context or the image that was presented in the Old Testament. But rather God was a presence that was here within us, that it was a presence that is a loving presence, a friendly presence, a presence that is about the empowerment of each and every individual. And that empowerment is something that I think is an essential aspect of the teachings of Jesus. That you don't need to rely upon some medicine man or some entity who to be the intercessory for your connection with God, but rather God is closer to you than your breath. And you've heard me talk about panpsychism. That is that a fundamental element of the universe is that consciousness. And that consciousness is pervasive in the universe, and we are individually an expression and connected to that one consciousness, which ties to the teachings that I've offered for the last 15 or 20 years now, that we are the embodiment of God in this moment, whether we are aware of it or not, whether we behave like that or not. And it is important that we understand that this Easter story is about the unfolding of this new worldview, that we are the expression of God if we choose to be. So that's a great power. That we realize that God is not some distant, far-off entity that's ready to smite me if I make an error, if I displease Him, but rather God is not a him or her. God is a presence that is here within us. For me, that is the essence of the Christian story. So Easter was the arising of this new worldview. At the time, it was called the Way. It was a sect within the Jewish community, but it became Christianity, and so Christianity has evolved/devolved. There's an aspect of Christianity that has really understood this empowering change worldview, and there's an aspect of Christianity that insists upon this far-off being that is ready to smite us. So we have our choice as to which worldview we're going to engage. I encourage you to engage the former rather than the latter. So As we look at then the effect of COVID-19 on our world, it brings into question, if it is no respecter of boundaries, and if the truth of our being is that we are connected to each and every other being on this planet, that we are part and parcel of this entity that has been called Gaia, that we are that we each, regardless of our station in life, we are each as important to this whole community that embraces the planet as any other individual. Now, we may elevate our superheroes, our sports figures, our military heroes. We may elevate them and say, "Wow, those are the pinnacle of human existence." But I suggest to you that COVID-19 is showing us that is absolutely false. The heroes of our species are the ones who step into the mall. Excuse me. The heroes of our species are the ones who are willing to sacrifice their safety for our greater benefit. The nurses, the doctors, the healthcare workers all through that front lines, the maintenance people who are getting rid of the trash, the grocery store workers, the people who are there meeting the public, distributing the food that the public is obviously needing. Those are the heroes. And if we can let that lesson sink in, maybe we will stop idolizing those who are able to make a three-point shot from 45 feet. Maybe we are willing to consider that the people who are trained to kill, while they may show valor in times of crisis, it is only if they're helping others that we should elevate them to the heroic throne. So COVID-19 is preparing us for a transformation of worldview. And if we can learn that lesson, as tragic as this situation is, as many hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of people that may die as a result of this, if we can use the lessons of this tragedy to transform our society, then we will have fulfilled what Jesus has said, that the things that I have done, you can do also. You can be the hands of God in this moment. You can be the tongue of God in this moment. You can be the legs of God in this moment. You can be the one that steps out and reaches a hand out and helps the neighbor. You can be the one that is willing to put your life on the line to ensure that others may live a more fulfilling and satisfying existence. You can be the one. Each of us can be the hero. Paying attention to that indwelling Christ. Paying attention to our divinity as individuals, as the representatives of God in this moment. We can be the heroes. Are you ready? I'd like us to take a few moments in our meditation. We'll come back to a discussion of this, but I'd like to just settle these ideas into a little crucible. And I'd like you to consider what it is that we are called to do individually and collectively. What are we called to do to help our planet heal, to help our planet transform to a new way of being, where we're not spending trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars on weapons systems, but rather we are spending trillions of dollars on health care, where we're not so concerned about our defenses, but we're concerned about being defenseless, that we can understand the pain and tribulation of our neighbors, and we are willing to step in and help. So breathing in and breathing out. Allowing a long breath in, a pause of several seconds, and a long breath out. And a pause of several seconds, and a long breath in. This square breathing technique is one that allows us to focus on our breathing, to just be present with our breath. Breathing in, pausing, breathing out, pausing, breathing in, pausing, breathing out. And as we practice this square breathing, let us open our hearts to the realization that there will be a new normal. And that new normal will be our choice if we lean into it. As we allow this COVID experience to unfold, helping our neighbors, recognizing a need and stepping in to fulfill that need in some way. Perhaps it's a phone call, perhaps it's an errand, perhaps it's just a loving conversation. What is mine to do to transform this world into a compassionate, loving, invigorating, vitalizing space in which all of us can live in harmony? What is mine to do? How can I share my time? How can I share my skills? How can I share my resources to help others? How can I be the loving presence in this moment that is the representative of the Christ in this moment? How can I be the hands, the tongue, the feet? How can I be the messenger of God in this moment to help others? How can I be the loving presence, the demonstration that God is love, and love is unconditional. Love is offered without exception. Love is offered without expectation, and love is offered without allocation in this moment. How can I be that representative of the Christ? We are all in this together. While some billionaires may sequester themselves on a super yacht in the middle of the ocean, when they return, they will find a new world order. How can I be part of that? We are the representatives. We are the stimulus. We are the catalysts of the arising of this compassionate, loving worldview. And for the realization of this charge, for the acceptance of this responsibility, we give thanks. And so it is that together we say Amen.
Amen.
What are your thoughts?
I want to say, can you hear me tonight?
Yes.
Okay, good. Don't be too concerned about the pandemic. This too shall pass, and there's only so far 1% of the global population that has died. Okay, that's a bad thing. That's about 90 million people. But we'll get through this. Just follow the protocols, like a social distancing 6 feet, and we will get through this fairly soon. And another thing I wanted to share here, what we can do is share the truth to the best of our ability and use our discernment about others sharing to the best of our ability.
Thank you, Glenn. Okay.
One more thing, a very important thing is I got some information very recently that there will be a period of 3 days where there will be no internet available, no phone use, to facilitate mass arrest, which will get rid of the bad folks that are interfering with disclosure of information and technology. When that's over, there will be a lot of disclosure and a lot of medical health technology revealed, and we are indeed not going to have the same normal as we have. There will indeed be a new normal, and it will be moving us into the golden age.
Glenn, let's give someone else some time to talk.
No, I'm done. Thanks.
Thank you, David.
Hello, Paul.
I really appreciated the invite and I loved your message, and I love the new normal. The new normal has been people reaching out to each other to connect, talking to each other who haven't talked to each other in forever, engaging with each other in our own homes. We took part in the new howl thing that's going around, where at 8 o'clock, wherever you are, you just go outside your door and howl. And we texted we have a strong neighborhood in our block, and we texted everybody, and sure enough, everybody was out there howling.
Well, it was a good thing that it was a good thing you informed your neighbors so that you didn't have the police called on you.
It was just beautiful because it was like this rolling, and then people who got the text but weren't ready to pop out said, we'll be on tomorrow, so they'll be out with us tonight. Just that connection.
Yep.
And our front yard, we have a really flat driveway, and we have a basketball net as every other boy on this block. So there's like a boy or a girl. There's like 6 different so kids like rotate coming over and from their own home. They'll come and play for 15 minutes and go away, and then somebody else will come with their ball and play for 15 minutes and go away.
I'd like to point out that the Italians get together and they sing opera.
Yes.
Americans get together and they howl.
Yes. It's our version of opera.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's just beautiful to watch people, checking in, like, hey, I'm running to the grocery store. Do you need anything? So instead of having 10 people out from the neighborhood, you have one person out, doing the shopping. So just, checking in with each other. I like this new normal. I like the kindness. And I love, the lack of traffic and pollution.
There's that.
Although as an introvert, I must say that I'm not digging having my space invaded.
So, someone else.
Well, one thing I noticed was I didn't really think about when Jesus left us and he died, and then we sort of moved into a new world order. And I don't want to say death or dying necessarily in the true sense, but of course many people are dying. I can see that this is a new world order, and my sister-in-law, and my relatives who are born-again folks, they kind of wonder if this is, the beginning of the end. But I sort of like thinking that it's the new normal, how, like this happened, I think when Jesus left us as well, because he didn't really leave us. It just appeared like he left us. And I'm excited about the new normal, although this is a difficult time. So I guess those are just some thoughts.
There are those within our society, certainly, that are afraid of the death of the old normal, afraid of the death of, and we could look at that spiritually and say, well, those are the Pharisees, those are the Sadducees, those are the Romans, those are the ones that are insisting upon the reclaiming of the old order. But I suggest that reclaiming the old order is not in our best interest.
Do you think Pentecost will appear in 40 days from Sunday?
Well, I'm guessing that there's going to be some howling going on 40 days from Sunday.
I'm thinking, the end of the old order is actually maybe the end of divisiveness, more togetherness, the end of the wars against one another, because people realize we're all in this together. Going back to what Leslie said, it's a change, but it's probably not a change for the worst. It's probably a change for the best. God's in charge.
The Pentagon has a budget that is to support 2 full-blown wars on 2 fronts. That is what their billions and billions and billions of dollars, the hundreds of billions of dollars, are designed to do. And I recently read a piece that our national defense could actually be accommodated by the Special Forces and by the Marines and by the 101st and 82nd Airborne. That corps of soldiery could in fact defend us. There is a budget for replacing our nuclear armament. We have something like 5,000 warheads. I'm not sure how you distribute 5,000 warheads around the planet, but 5,000 warheads placed around the planet would eliminate all sentient life. So we have the opportunity to reconsider, okay, what if we don't need a huge $900 billion defense budget? What if we actually had the need for only a $300 billion defense budget? How could we use that extra $600 billion that's presently literally wasted with equipment sitting on runways, with missiles buried in grounds, and with people distributed among 800 different military bases around the planet? How could we make better use of that $600 billion?
I think they're doing a great job in the medical field. I think we should put them in charge of our healthcare. They have the ability to organize and distribute and to gather quickly. I think they're doing a great job as far as helping with our healthcare.
Just as an aside, I'm sorry. Just as an aside, I heard something that all the conflicts in the Middle East and in Africa and every other place have stopped because of coronavirus. So maybe on the other side of this, they'll find that there's not really any need.
So an imposed ceasefire, huh? Interesting. I didn't hear that, but I can understand it.
You think just about the attention we're all paying, it seems like we're not paying attention to fighting each other, and I assume that's true all over the world, as opposed to taking care of ourselves and others.
And in talk titles, are you ready to change? And I think it begins with each and every one of us individually, because if this pandemic goes on and there's a lack of food, it's going to be pretty scary. So I think we need to start with ourselves. And I've told all my friends that if you need food, I don't have a lot, but I'm happy to help. And we have to all begin with ourselves and share what we can so it doesn't turn into this greed-based, you saw what happened with toilet paper, for Christ's sakes. I mean, who needs 500 rolls of toilet paper? But just share what we have with others that are in need.
I think that is a very important point, that this is about personal empowerment. It's not about forcing policies in place, that this is going to be a bubbling up from the bottom rather than a top down. We can see that the top down is not working, but the bubbling up from the bottom is where we are playing the part. Thank you, Patrick.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say that this gives us a chance to pause, whether we want to or not, and to take a look at ourselves and see where we as a species can go from. Mm-hmm. What you were talking about today, David, falls into that. Human beings are naturally short-sighted on what's going on around them. We cannot look at the long view out there. Some of us can, and I'm not talking about me, but there are some enlightened people in our world that can. But for the majority of us, it's right here, right now.
We grew up in valleys. We grew up in tribal communities. Our perspective tends to be limited to our immediate surrounds.
And the other thing that we're seeing is blue skies in places that used to be clouded with pollution. And maybe Mother Earth is just a little pissed off right now. And she's saying, hey guys, it's time to clean up our Earth and take care of it. And I pray that we all learn from that. China skies, I see blue skies for the first time down in LA. What can we learn? How can we change it to take care of this Earth for generations to come and not just for us today?
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a great opportunity to move forward all the climate change initiatives that have been put on hold by our administration, to get behind it, because they all require world cooperation, community cooperation, cities, states, everyone to cooperate.
Yeah, polluted river upstream is going to pollute the river downstream.
It is.
I like seeing the tolerance for the fragility of people emerging and the natural need of giving that is, I think, evolving. And I hope to assist. I have a heart condition, but I would like to discover and find a new niche in this new normal and help people.
Well, I just want to say, David, what I took away from your talk is kind of hard to hear being in the medical field. I don't feel like the hero. I'm used to being at work, and I am not doing real well with just sitting, being home with myself. I am used to the distraction of being a social butterfly and being out there and having all these social groups that support you. So for me, it's been real hard. And the other thing that I'm seeing is that the medical profession, my boss, for instance, today emailed me first thing this morning and then called, "Why aren't you at work today?" And so she had to scramble to find someone to cover my shift. And I said, "Did you not read the email that was sent from my doctor and the COVID board that is following a protocol, and that I cannot show up at work till April 7th. So I just find it hard to accept that we just need you here. And I don't know, I don't feel very valued. And so I'm struggling today, saying, I'm not sure I even want to go back and put myself at risk again. Maybe I don't want to play the hero, and maybe I wish I had a yacht that I could be out and isolated and come back when everyone has found a way to change their lives and thought patterns. So it was good to hear today, but it's not feeling good.
Thank you, Rose.
Dave, I was wondering if the picture of Jesus knocking on the door is actually, he's knocking to get out from us and express through us.
I heard that. Thank you, Berta.
Insightful, Bert.
I'm nodding. You can't see me. I said I'm nodding. You can't see me.
Oh, you're nodding. Okay, yeah. I didn't get the password, so I don't know what password I need because I can't see anything.
By the way, the password on this and all future meetings, Zoom implemented a password requirement on meetings. The password on this and all future meetings is uppercase I am that I am, no spaces. I am that I am, uppercase, no spaces, and that will be the password on all future Zoom meetings.
Thank you. That's good. Thank you. Yeah.
You know, talking about ready to change again, somewhere I feel that if this is going to go away, the quickest way is to shut down the entire world for 30 days. Because we can do it here in the United States, but if we get rid of the virus and then we open the borders and somebody comes in from another state or country that didn't do it, it's all coming back. So I'm ready to do that for 30 days. On the own, kind of like Rob was talking about. But yeah, I think that we just need to be ready to make that commitment to make this go away and take care of our friends and neighbors and loved ones.
Unfortunately, we have some states in the United States that are still not doing the stay at home, which is just so annoying. I know Florida and Rhode Island and a few other states have not joined in.
There's 5 states remaining as of Friday, so We haven't done anything.
I heard that that is like having a no peeing section in a swimming pool.
Good analogy.
Thanks for the visual on that, David.
Anytime I can help.
Well, I think one maybe good aspect of this is exposing where a lot of our weaknesses is and how we deal with people, those in prison, those in nursing homes and whatever, as far as protections for them that we maybe think they're there, but it's exposing how they're treated and how they're marginalized in our society. And if nothing else, it'll shed some light on maybe we can fix some of these things. Number one, by getting so many people out of prisons who don't need to be there. But there's lots of issues like that that are coming to light just because they're finding that we don't know how to handle it.
So back to that question of what can we individually do? How can we be the representatives of the Christ? There's certainly lots of examples that we could bring up, but is there any broad category that we haven't talked about yet?
What we can do is support togetherness. The COVID-19 was spread in an attempt to separate us, which they have achieved. We're separated now. But that will result, after it's over, in much more togetherness. It backfired.
Okay, how do we proceed from here as a church community? That is my question. We can all do our own individual things, but we also have a nucleus among us of our Living Water Church. And I want to make sure that that continues to be supported. And how do we do that? I'm going to embrace the ghost in the room here, or the elephant in the room. Thinking of ghosts. Anyway, that's me.
I think we're doing it. We're doing it by Zoom. We're doing it by checking in on one another. We're doing it by being available. And as unity, that is where you start, is by not going inside and shutting the rest of the world out. And what better place than the people that you know from your church?
Yeah, I realize that. What I'm talking about also, in addition to that, is supporting our church. And that is my concern, that we step up and donate to our church to keep it going. And that's not aimed at any particular person, but I'm just saying anyone who can. This is a responsibility that we've taken on as being part of our church community.
Yes. We have a group called Friends of the Family, and I've had a hard time getting it up and going, but I have set up a regular meeting. It's going to be the first and third Saturdays at 10 a.m. in this same meeting room. And I am going to divide our Friends of the Family group that we already have into parts of town and send that email to everybody that I have on the Friends of the Family list. And my thought is that one person in each part of town could volunteer to be a captain of that area for our community and agree to publish their phone number to our community. And that way, if there's somebody in a certain part of town, let's say the northern part of town up to Boulder or Broomfield, if there's a captain in that area and somebody has a need, they could call that captain and find out what resources are available or who's in that area that might be able to help meet the needs of that particular person. So that's something I haven't written to friends of the family about yet, or talked thoroughly with the board about, but we have talked off and on about, you know, pairing up people in our community, especially those who are living alone, to make sure that their needs are met. So I'm open to suggestions, but here is my email address: Pam, P-A-M, M as in Mary, Denny, Pam M. Denny at gmail.com. Just email me if you want to be part of that group, or if you're agreeing to be a captain, tell me what part of town you're in. And I've taken up enough time, but that's my suggestion.
Thank you, Pam. I've just put her email address into the comments or into the chat box. So if you didn't catch that.
I'd like to return for a moment to what Sandy was talking about, and that is the financial need of this community. I'm just wondering, this is just a weird, off-the-wall thought. Is there such a thing as virtual bingo?
Virtual bingo. That's a great idea.
I don't think the state of Colorado has licensed virtual bingo, although they may put something like that together.
I think the togetherness, I think, should be extended to all life. So go ahead and embrace an elephant. Little humor there.
But you can virtually embrace that elephant.
Yeah.
Embrace that elephant in consciousness.
I keep having a vision of something that happened some years back when, I don't remember what it was called, but where many people stood hands in an effort to have hands held all the way around the world. And it's not that I'm suggesting at this moment, but the idea of some specific time when at least many thousands, if not millions of people at that moment focus on healing for the planet.
There was a meditation last night at 8:45 that I had put that into the newsletter. By the way, if you haven't signed up for the newsletter, go to our website, livingwaterunity.org, select the envelope icon in the upper right, and get that information in there, because the newsletter is our primary means of getting word out. Yeah, there, and you keep a lookout, and there will be those notifications going on. Journeys for Conscious Living has a new moon meditation that occurs every 28 days, and that should be on the website. In the lower right hand, there's a calendar of other events at the center, so they will have that listed there. Go ahead.
There's also a full moon meditation, mass meditation for all life on the planet.
So, I'm hearing kind of a succession of ideas, which is fine. Tomorrow night we're going to have a gathering, a discussion group. The topic is changing our modus operandi, and that is going to be a follow-on to what we have talked about here. Coming up Wednesday, we have a prayer circle and meditation here at 7 o'clock on Zoom. Tomorrow night, by the way, 7 o'clock. Friday evening, thank God, it's fellowship, and that's just getting together just to discuss life and times. On Monday evening, April the 13th, the question has arisen in our annual meeting, and it has been bubbling in our board meeting about the retention of the building. The question is whether or not we should be retaining ownership of the building. It does, in fact, cost us $2,700 per month. And so Monday evening on the 13th of April, that's a week from tomorrow, we will have a discussion. And then on Sunday on the 19th of April, after our gathering here, we'll have a vote on whether or not we retain the building. So it's going to be a discussion on the 13th, Monday evening at 7 o'clock. And on Sunday, April 19th at 11:30, we'll have further discussion, any closing comments, and then we'll have a vote on that. That will be, the notification for those will be sent out in the newsletter, and we will have an announcement of that on Facebook. We'll also have that in our events calendar. So all of those things will be up on the events calendar. You can find the events calendar by going to our website, scrolling down below the image, the rotating image, and there will be a what's happening link to get to our calendar. Okay, so with all of that then, are there any other thoughts, comments about... oh, by the way, donations. If you are interested in making a donation, and I hope you are, but there is a website button that allows us to the donate button in the menu bar on the website, and then in our webcast page there is a donate button. But that allows you to put in your either credit card or bank account information, and then once that is in, you can just go to it and make a donation on a incident by incident time, single occurrence at a time, or you can set it up as a recurring contribution. And there are still expenses that are involved in our operation, so I encourage you to do that. What I'd like to do is to share this screen that is our offering blessing. And as you are so inclined to make that offering, let's just hold that opportunity in consciousness right now, and together let us have our offering blessing of divine love through me. Blessed and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I give in love because I trust in God. And thank you for your consideration in that respect. So,
hey, just a quick question, because the website says the vote on the building is April 12th.
I know, so I've got to change that. We had
I just want to make sure.
Yeah, we had some questions come up about whether or not we had adequate discussion about that topic, and yeah, it was my oversight for just jumping out there with a request for a vote. But we will have that discussion on Monday the 13th, and we'll have any closing comments or other ideas that come up on Sunday the 19th at 11:30. So Carol, thank you. I will get that changed this afternoon.
And David, for those people that are not comfortable doing anything online, isn't it possible to send checks to the church?
Oh, thank you.
That's what I do.
Yes.
Yes.
It is. Too. And Ginger, by the luck of the draw, Ginger lives about a block from the church. And so she has, excuse me, that's not COVID. That's my postnasal drip. Too much information, I know. But she has agreed to go by the church every few days and pick up any checks and run them down to the bank. So thank you for that.
What's the address again?
7401, I'll put it in chat, but 7401 West 59th Avenue. And that is 80303. I'm sorry, that was my old zip code, 80003.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Are the utilities at the church shut off, David, so that we can save some money that way?
We do not have any utilities per se that are in operation. That is, we have the heat on to 60 degrees to ensure that we don't have any pipe issues, but we're not using a bunch of water. I think the only water that we're using is in the water fountain out front. It replenishes the reservoir. So, no, to answer your question, the utilities are not shut off, but that's because we need them on.
Yeah, just the basic ones. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we have suspended our Comcast internet. They wouldn't allow us to keep the phone number, but I said, well, if you're going to be that way, go ahead and suspend anyway, and we'll just use my cell phone number as the primary church number when we get that going again.
David, as to support the whole church community, I will say, never mind the rest of the loan that I made late last year.
Oh,
but let me know
wow.
how much that is.
Thank you. Yeah, you bet.
You're welcome.
And by the way, I have not sent out the April installments of the payback because our mortgage holder, when I told our mortgage holder that we were not going to be able to pay the mortgage and ask for a suspension of the mortgage for 3 months, they did not take the initiative on their side to stop the payment. And what happened was that we had the March mortgage payment went through, even though they said, okay, we'll suspend prior to the March mortgage payment being made. So they are in the process of getting that money back to us. That took a few phone calls. But with that money back in the bingo account, I have checks here at my house which I can pay those installments. So I apologize. Thank you for your patience, and Glenn, thank you for your consideration. I will get that balance, that contribution balance to you.
Okay, and that sounds like part of the chaos that mortgage thing you were talking about just now.
Yeah, one sliver of an example of the chaos. Yeah.
It just occurred to me that if we're not using the building, we still need to keep the presence of the building up, and we can't all have a work in front of the building date because we have to socially distance. But for those of us who may have a sunny afternoon with some boredom and some garden tools, I'm going to put it on my calendar. Come over and weed for a while, clean up a bit, and I don't know if Laura is still working at that as well.
Laura is, her activities are suspended. She is willing to go in and do whatever cleanup that is necessary. I was not sure how much Journeys was going to be using the facility in the meantime, and so I asked her not to worry about cleaning it until we are back ready to reassemble in the building, and to have a cleanup then. And in the meantime, Journeys can be responsible for their own cleanup.
Is she still working outside then and being paid?
They haven't started. Laura and Kevin have not started their landscape maintenance yet.
Okay.
That won't start until probably May.
Any chance, David, on the mortgage interest being forgiven or postponed for those 3 months or 2 months?
Well, my understanding is, and the papers for the agreement have not yet arrived. I thought they were going to arrive this last week, but they haven't. Anyway, what I understand is that they're going to take the interest and take the interest and tack it on at the end of the mortgage. we'll see whether or not they are suspending. I had asked them to suspend the interest, but I don't think they're doing that. I think they're just suspending payments, and the interest will be tacked on.
Yeah.
Seems to me that there was some sort of a legislation about that, not us not having to pay interest on mortgage for those
That's what I was wondering.
a certain
about.
period of time. So maybe it was just a very early message from our bank, and maybe that will change.
I'll check into that.
Yeah, because there was something from Governor Polis about that.
I missed that one, but
Might have been just for homeowners, might not be commercial, but it's worth asking. Also, I noticed in my my newsletter from Unity Worldwide Ministries, or the Unity, something I got earlier this week was saying that there is a fund for struggling churches, Unity churches, where certain
That's all I was wondering
people,
about.
certain group congregations can apply for assistance for that community, and David's nodding his head, so it looks like he's seen it, and I think Carol brought it up at our last board meeting also, so it's a possibility also.
Mm-hmm.
There may be some grants out there to help us too.
We could get that information in time for our major discussion. That would be good to know.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think this is where our board needs to step up and take some of the burden from David, because this has
We
been
are.
an awful lot.
Yeah, we are.
I'm
We're
sure you are.
distributing the work.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. We all need to know that we have support one way or the other.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, we're out of here pretty much.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna leave, guys, so we
Are we
will
gonna-
see.
Are we going to say the prayer for protection and then leave the room open for chit chat?
We still have 28 participants on here, so.
Are we going to do the prayer for protection, David?
But in that context, in that light, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Thank you all. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your support, and spread the word. We have plenty of seating, right, in this gathering. So let's make it known. All right.
Spread the password too.
I'm sorry.
Spread the password so everyone knows about that.
And I want to say a special hello to Betty, who's with us online for the very first time.
Hi, Betty.
She's listed as Geraldine. Hi, Betty. So good to see you.
Betty, good to see you.
And
I saw Allison and Chiffon on here earlier.
Yeah. Chiffon and Debbie and
Hi, Chiffon and Allison.
And Allison is in Kentucky.
Yeah.
So
In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. So do spread the word.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, that's what I was going to say, David. Thank you again for giving us the opportunity of joining by Zoom.
Oh, absolutely.
It's been a fabulous experience.
See you all at 7 o'clock tomorrow night.
Sounds fine, guys.
Blessings abound.
Good night. See you later, guys.
Bye.
Okay, bye, Clarence.
I'm gonna leave the room open here for 30 minutes. If you want to go over and take a look at the chat boxes.
Okay.
Yeah, the chat box has a lot of interesting information.
If anybody can help you with
Hi,
Zoom,
Carol.
if anybody can help you with Zoom, please do.
Base camp.
This is Glenn.
Pardon me, Glenn?
Yeah, Glenn, give me a call and we can work through that.
Okay, thank you. I managed to get on phone, but it's not on my laptop today. Thanks.
Okay, all
Hi,
right.
Chiffon.
Yeah.
Glad you were on.
Yeah. I'm going to stay
Rose, I
on
hope
and
you're
see
feeling
one of
better
the
very
last-
soon.
Yeah. Hi, Sue.
Thank you so much.
And a shout out to Dan down in Albuquerque. Hi, Dan.
Hi, Dan.
Yeah.
I'm going to stick around for a while if anybody wants to just
Yeah.
hang out and chat.
Hey, Betty. You are muted.
I'm
Give us
gonna.
a thumbs up if you're healthy, up by your face. Hey, Betty, give us a thumbs up by your face if you're healthy and well. Good job. Is somebody checking in on you and making sure you have everything you need?
Your microphone is muted.
All right. Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, Geraldine is there with her. They live together.
Okay.
So
Great. Great.
I'm going to sign off. We have a family sing-along Zoom coming up here in another 15 minutes, so I have to get ready for the next one.
Okay.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye, Sue.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
I'm going to sign off too. Chris and I have to head over to Mom's.
Okay.
How's she doing?
She's doing good. So far, so
Good.
good.
All right. You take care, Carol.
Thank you. You all
Bye.
too. Do the same. Bye.
Betty, there is a. If you touch the screen in the upper right, there is. I'm sorry. In the lower left, there is a microphone icon. Touch that, and you'll be unmuted. There you go.
There.
Hey! Hi, Betty.
Hey!
Hey, Jerry. Thanks for helping get online.
It's been a struggle today. We didn't have that password.
Oh.
Yeah.
I am. I am that I am. All uppercase, no spaces. That's our permanent password for these gatherings.
I am that I am.
I am that I am.
All caps.
I finally heard, so I got it. So we're in, but
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I wasn't going to be on camera.
Well,
That's towards your mom there.
the Zoom etiquette is you can be dressed however you are. Just be dressed.
You didn't want to see me 2 hours earlier. It's been fun though, watching everybody and hearing everybody. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. I'm glad somebody convinced you to try it.
Oh, I'm glad we figured out where to turn on for sound. I'll need that password.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, 7 o'clock Monday, Wednesday, and Friday we've got gatherings, so don't miss those as well.
All right.
All right. Same password, same member ID, meeting ID.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You bet.
Kay, I just wanted to say happy birthday. My birthday's tomorrow too.
Oh, yeah.
Chris, if you're on, is Bob's birthday tomorrow too?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yes, Bob Gabrielson.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 3 of us. Wow. I don't know that many people we should share a birthday with, but that's great.
Yeah. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear John and Kay and Bob. Happy birthday to you.
Free tickets.
We didn't do adult birthdays.
Oh, that's right. We didn't. Oh well.
I can get free tickets to the basketball game, but I'll be the only one there. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
For my birthday, I want to run around and hug everybody.
Yeah, true.
I'll collect later. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Make those virtual hugs for right now.
For right now, yeah. And talk face to face. It's kind of nice to be lined up, but it's nice to be together too. So, looking forward to that day, and it will come.
Yeah, it will. Oh boy. So,
Linda, share something real. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead, Glenn.
I wanted to share something real quick. I don't know how this has been expressed like this before, but I think there's a universal law. Light grows. So things will get better. It's guaranteed.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to go. See you later.
See you later, Doreen. Have a great week.
See you tomorrow, Doreen.
All right.
I'm going to take off. You guys take care.
See you later, Pam.
All right, Pam. Have a good day.
Thank you. I'm going to. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you all very much.
Good to have you here.
Thanks,
Thank
John. See you later.
See you.
I haven't eaten yet at all, so maybe it's time.
Oh, yeah.
So everybody take care, and we will see you tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, I
Yeah,
believe. Yeah.
believe so.
Yeah.
Marvelous.
Oh yeah.
Have a lovely day.
Unless I'm celebrating wildly, I don't know what I'll be doing tomorrow evening, but maybe I'll wear a party hat. We'll see.
We'll get one of those, one of those blower things that uncurl.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye-bye.
See you later. I see phone number 206-602-5980. Who is that?
That's me.
Oh, that's you.
Glenn.
I see you in two different times. Well, that's interesting. Okay. Did you come in via a different phone line?
I don't understand.
I have two windows here. One has your name on it because I keyed it in, and the other just has your phone number, but it's a different window, which would indicate that it's a different call-in line. So you may have called in and put it on hold.
I've been doing strange things with electronics. I don't know. It's like I was not my intention.
Okay, all right. Well, that other window is removed as it is. So what? Rose, are you still on?
I am.
Okay. How you feeling?
Well, my chest is hurting quite a bit, and it's harder to take breaths than it has been. And basically just wiped out like 2 hours and then take a nap.
Well, I don't need to tell you because you're very familiar, but have you talked with your doctor about that at this point?
I will be checking in for this week because I'm only cleared till the 7th, so in the next 2 days. The comment that I got back was that I would not be tested because I do not have a high fever. So they're just assuming that I have COVID or have been exposed. I take it that Kaiser doesn't want their employees to be diagnosed, or at least that's what I'm feeling.
That concerns me. Does it concern you?
Yeah, I think it's wrong. I don't even think that my boss really even cares because she didn't read the email. Just say you at your position, and I still haven't received a phone from her.
Well, but you've been in contact with your doctor.
My doctor, and then she has to go to the COVID team, and then they give her the protocol.
Okay. Well, may I call you and just check in from time to time because I'm concerned about where you are at this stage of the game with increasing difficulty in breathing.
Yeah, and my prescription is over today, so I have taken 2 rounds of antibiotics. You would think that I would be a little stronger at this point.
Well, is it a bacterial pneumonia or is it a viral pneumonia?
They treated it as bacterial.
Is that the pneumonia that arises from COVID? Is a bacterial pneumonia?
No, that would be viral.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. And is there a separate treatment for viral pneumonia?
No.
So it pretty much, you just let it run its course then?
That is correct. So until I have really high fevers and can't catch a breath, then that would be when you would be hospitalized or tested.
Whew, well, I can understand why there is a delay, but boy, that's concerning.
Rose, I'll send you some information that may be helpful. But for right now, I have heard that lots of vitamin C, as much as you can take, that won't be harmful, is helpful against the COVID-19.
Yeah, I have been doing everything for immune system boosters and high doses of my vitamins. Been really good with vitamin D also.
Good for you.
Let's keep in touch. How about a prayer?
Yeah, that would be really great. Thank you.
Here in this moment, we see the power of God, the healing power of God, the love of God, embracing and penetrating your whole being. We invite those infections to let go and let God. We invite those infections to leave, to go into another experience of existence. But within Rose, we see Rose lifted and transformed and healed by the loving power of God, by the healing energy of God. We see her breath being restored to its fullness, to its vitality. We see her body being restored to its full, healthy beingness. We see that energy of God flowing in, and we see the infection flowing out. Holding that image of the flushing power of the love of God. We see Rose healed now. And so it is.
Amen.
Keep in touch, okay?
Just hang out.
Okay. Hang
I
out.
will. Hopefully I'll get to see you tomorrow.
Okay. And call me if you just want to talk. Give me a shout, okay? And my phone number is 7209.
That sounds good. You have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. And you too. My number is in the chat.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I'm going to get off here now and go get myself a healthy lunch.
Okay, Glenn. Let me know when you are interested in getting Zoom working.
I'll call you. I'll call you after that.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
All right. See you later.
Bye. Have a good one, Rose.
Great.
Yeah, I'm still here. Did you want anything else?
No, I was just checking my contacts for you, and I guess I have the church's phone number in here, so I am going to update it.
Okay.
With your personal number.
Subtract 1 from the church number.
Yeah, I just noticed that. So, okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
All right. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Bye now.
Bye.
gives a sense of